Cases are one of the most popular CS2 and CSGO investments, and today we're going to be breaking down the potential supply that all of these cases are going to have. Now, there's a couple caveats that come with this. First up, this is just an estimate. It's taken using the unboxing numbers and the player counts to project a certain amount of cases that have been created in a certain timeline. There is no guarantees that this data is 100% correct. It's an estimate and should definitely be taken as such. First up here, we have our old cases. This one's going to be the weapon case 1. As you can see right here, the supply on it is not anything crazy. I would say most of the data you're about to see is very interesting, but not too out of the ordinary. Same with the weapon case 2 and the weapon case 3. Both of these are sitting in a relatively, I would say, unimportant situation. They're lower supply, lower demand, and they're just kind of equal. eSports 2013 case, unfortunately, no one really cares to unbox this case, and you can definitely see that as the supply and the unboxing rates really don't matter, although this one is not actually dropping anymore. The Bravo case is an interesting one because you can see right here there is a lot of unboxings for this case, but there's also a decent amount of supply coming in to the point where it's staying almost relatively flat in the shorter period here. Then we've got the Winter Offensive and the eSports Winter and the eSports Summer. These three cases right here, I don't really have too much interesting output to add. You can see the data in front of you. Skin Swap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with the top link in the description. They're here to cater to all of your CS2 and Rust skins need, as they're the top place for buying on some brand new skins, selling off your old skins, or trading your new CS2 skins for some new ones as well. They've got everything, and transactions are taking under 30 seconds right now. They also offer the most competitive rate out there as a massive 40% deposit bonus if you just top up today, and their selling feature is one of the best. With an instant cash out and many different payout options, there's no reason not to try them out today. Then we have our active duty cases. The Kilowatt here is on a massive upswing in the supply out there, obviously, because it has just recently been released. It's the most recent case, and it's quite obvious in the amount of supply out there. It's just more interesting to see this than anything else. Talking Revolution, we can see that it's actually in a little bit of a limbo right now. The unboxing numbers for this thing have been strong enough that it's keeping its supply relatively stagnant, at least in the short term here. We don't know what's going to happen in the longer period. Dreams and Nightmares is actually a case that's been going down in supply slightly, just because the unboxing demand for this case is so strong compared to the amount of them that are being dropped. That doesn't make it a strong investment because it's still being dropped. It's going to continue to be dropped for a significant amount of time, but it's very interesting. Recoil case is not on the same boat. It has been going up in supply, and it's going to continue to go up in supply as it loses its unboxing demand to some of these newer cases that are coming in. It's a really bad investment in my personal opinion because the supply is going to continue growing substantially larger than anything else. Finally, then we have the Fracture case, which is also in a relatively similar situation where the supply on this thing is already super massive, and now we're seeing it continue to go up once again. I would say it's definitely something you need to be very wary of my personal opinion. Talking discontinued cases, it gets a little bit weird. We can see the shadow web here looks relatively normal, although it's definitely not the most accurate because we don't remember how many of these cases are actually being dropped. It's nearly impossible to actually calculate. When we move on over to the broken Fang case, you can see right here exactly what I mean. Because this was a situation where you would specifically buy a case, we have no clue how many of these were actually created, and we can only track how many of them have actually been unboxed, which is why unboxing numbers are so crucial for this. Riptide's going to be a very similar situation. Although we want to go ahead and estimate, we really can't because we don't know how many of these were purchased, because you could specifically buy stars from Valve to buy a case, and therefore it's impossible to figure it out. Talking about the older rare cases that still have investment potential, we got the Phoenix case right here. Now, the Phoenix case is actually one that I think is in a very strong trajectory. If you want to look at it from the start to the finish, we're down about roughly 15-20% in the amount of supply that we estimate for this case to have, which is a very good trajectory for something like this, as old as it is, to be on. Looking at the Huntsman case, it's not the most equivalent here. We can see that the estimate for this one was a little bit off, and now we're into the negatives here. With that being said, we can also see really strong unboxing numbers coming from this case. Looking at the Breakout case here, we can see that the status has really influenced this case because we're not seeing a ton of unboxings happen for this. We can get to the point now where the Breakout case is a little bit more expensive. People don't really want to open it as much, but we're still left with a pretty massive supply estimated to be here, and therefore we can see why status is such an influential factor in a case's development. Talking about the Vanguard case, this is one that's really just been left behind. Although we can definitely see it going down slightly in the amount of supply out there, we can see that the unboxings for this case are few and far between just because they're happening so seldomly. This case has really struggled to see the supply decrease significantly. And finally, wrapping up for these older-ish cases, we got the Chroma 1 case. This one right here is a very good example of why it's not the best idea to invest into the first of a case. Usually the second or the third are going to be significantly more beneficial, and we're going to be focusing in on that in a second. Starting it off here with the Chroma 2 case for the mid-tier cases that have some investment potential. Personally, Chroma 2 case is a skip for me. The price point is not it, and when we look at the supply, it's going down way slower than I would personally want. Falchion and the Shadow are going to be nearly identical in the fact that they're okay cases, but the problem is the knives really make people not want to unbox the case, and we can see that extremely well here when the supply really isn't doing anything massive. It's just going down super slowly. Revolver Revolver is a fantastic case in my personal opinion. The problem that comes with it is actually our estimate. Unfortunately, just because it is so old, it's almost 10 years old at this point, it's a really hard case to estimate just because of how much time it spent in the non-prime, but we can see the massive demand that this case actually holds here. Wildfire case is a little bit of a sleeper in my personal opinion. Although the supply is not doing anything super crazy right now, I think it's definitely one worth checking out. Chroma 3 case would be my personal option if you're really looking to get into a Chroma case. It's actually got the lowest supply out of all of them and currently has the most demand out of all of them, which actually makes sense. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are nearly identical in all senses of the case, except we can see the Gamma 2 has significantly more interest in it. When it comes to supply, it's going down quicker because it has much more unboxing demand behind it. It was definitely something that they used to be pretty equal, and they're still equal in price, but Gamma 2 is definitely going to be the better option for most people if you're looking from an investment point of view. Then we've got the glove case, which is another case similar to the Breakout where status has really involved it because we can see it moving so slowly. Even though the price is going up, there's really low unboxing demand for this case because of the status it holds. Spectrum 1 case is a perfect example of a case that I really don't think has any actual things going for it. The Spectrum 2 is cheaper, better, and unboxed more. The Hydra case is an interesting situation because we can see right here the supply is slightly the exact same every single time. It's just because there's little unboxing demand and there's so few of them actually being dropped. Spectrum 2 is a pretty decent option in my personal opinion. If you're looking for the Spectrum case, it's definitely got a stronger supply movement than what we see for the Spectrum 1. Finally then, my favorite, the cheaper rare cases. Starting off with the clutch case right here, we can see the clutch case is one that's been on a massive decreasing trajectory. Although it used to be up at nearly 50 million cases, now it's down below 20 by our estimates, showing a very strong unboxing demand, which is something we have evidently seen time and time again. Horizon case is going to be the most unique out of all of these because it's got a much lower supply and a much lower unboxing demand than the rest of these cases. Necessarily, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but it's definitely a possibility inside of this area that it might be a little bit overlooked. Danger Zone is going to be the much more popular option if you're looking between that and Horizon. I would definitely say this one's on a very strong trajectory. We can see the supply is not necessarily decreasing the quickest, but it's also got a very strong consistent unboxing demand, which is something we look for. Prisma 1 and Prisma 2 I'm going to be grouping together, although they definitely are very different in terms of the actual applications that they're being unboxed in. We can see that both of them are on a very strong trajectory, being on a decreasing trend very significantly. I will say the Prismas are one of my personal favorites I look for when I'm looking at a potential investment inside of this area. Although this definitely should be your decision, I would say the Prismas are a very popular option, and it's a good reason why they're popular. CS20 is going to be very similar to the Horizon case in the fact that it's a little bit overlooked. Usually people just don't even want to touch it because of the manipulation behind it and the knives inside of it. It could be yours, but it's not personally something I'm too heavily interested in just because of the past behind it. Finally then, we have the Snakebite case. The estimated Snakebite case supply is nearly 30 million cases, and that's something you definitely need to keep in mind because beyond a look at the clutch, it's taken so much for it to get moving, and I think the Snakebite's going to be in a very similar situation. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.